Welcome to The Common Creative. I'm Paul Fairweather.
And I'm Chris Meredith.
And Chris and I are on a mission to have a conversation about creativity in life and business through the lens of ideas, stories, and visual cognition or visual communication. And that last one is particularly poignant for today's conversation. So this is a conversation between Chris and I. Because, Chris, you have a photographic exhibition coming up on the end of December.
Opens on the 2nd of December. It's called Spirits of Balmoral, and it tells the fantasy story of beautiful spirits that inhabit the skies above my local beach, Balmoral Beach, and the rocks and the waves and the beautiful natural textures that exist around that beach. Technically it's digital art, which means it's created through photographs that are then manipulated in the computer. The thing that amuses me about the show, that the images themselves look like Renaissance art. People call them paintings rather than photographs. And the whole idea behind the exhibition is to get people to kind of wonder and dream. A lot of the people that come to the exhibition will know the scenes that are shown in the pictures, scenes from my local beach, but they won't recognize them in the way that I portray them, because there are these beautiful figures either floating in the sky or sometimes hidden in the rocks. So there's a leap of fantasy imagination. And I hope people, when they see the pictures, will consider for themselves their own imagination and think about what they have in their minds and what they can bring to the world.
Chris, I think that's really interesting that you've done photographs that look like, or people think of paintings. It's sort of the reverse surrealism, where people take paintings and make them look like photographs.
Yeah.
And you're going, well, stuff you. I'm gonna do the reverse. Is that your intention, or is it just
very much so? Very much so. The pictures are presented in ornate gold frames, all recycled. I hunt around online and buy these old frames, often with chips in them and gold. They're almost meant to look like you found them in an old attic somewhere, so they feel old. In there is another little game that the pictures play. A lot of them feature female nudes, so it's kind of a very controversial area, not very politically correct. But of course, if you walk into the Louvre, or if you go to Rome and to an old museum, there are these beautiful Renaissance artworks, often showing nudes, which everybody kind of wonders at, isn't that incredible? And so by referencing Renaissance art, I'm sort of asking the question, if it was all right back then, why isn't it all right now? So yes, it is a game. They look like paintings. They're not. They're digital art. They have a slightly controversial subject matter, but I'm saying, well, why is it okay to see subjects like that in a museum if it's not all right to show them today? So I enjoy that little bit of spice that's in the pictures.
So I have a couple of, one observation and one question. So my observation is that, I know in the work that I do, where I teach people to paint a lemon, of a watercolor of a lemon, till they get a painting of a lemon, not a lemon of a painting. I, as a surprise, so spoiler alert, if you're a future client, block your ears, I frame it and I give it back. And because one of the things I say to them, I said, there's two lessons. One is knowing when to stop.
Yes.
You probably have the same thing, and maybe we can unpack that a little bit. The other is that you whack in a frame, and it makes it look at least 67.3% better.
Yes.
Throughout the frame. But you've taken it a step further, because if you put it in a gilt frame, boy, does that increase the value.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the idea that this isn't new art. This is old. This has got history. The frame actually adds a lot to the story, because the frame, as a recycled frame, has its own history, and those little chips, those little imperfections add age to it. In fact, a lot of the images feature things that have age, and so bits of lichen, gnarled bits of driftwood, moss. They have this sense of history inside them, and I like this sort of super juxtaposition of these fragile, delicate forms of the female body on these years that are inside the things I photograph. If you see me down at the beach, it looks very weird. I'll often have my camera and I'll be doing a close-up of a rock or a piece of lichen, or sometimes a footprint on the sand. And you wouldn't look twice at them if you were just there on holiday or enjoying the beach. But for me, I'm trying to take a picture of time, in a way, the stories that time tells.
Okay. So you talked about, sort of evoking the spirit, in the sea and in the air and in the sky. And then you've also got, some nudes, which is not sort of traditional nudes, because they're, because you've manipulated the images.
Yes.
uh, is it evoking mermaids or sirens? Like, is it?
Yeah, there's the story behind it that there are three of these sirens around Balmoral. One of them is bossy. The second one of them is dark and moody, and the third one's a bit of a trickster and plays tricks. And you see that being played out in some of the images. I was challenged once. I don't know where those ideas came from. I just kind of made them up. They have names. There's Almora, Lavoni, and Cobberty, which all happen to be street names around my local area. That's where I got the names from. But somebody once challenged me. I have three daughters, and she said, "Are those your three daughters?" And I instantly went, "No, they just made them up. No idea where they came from." And then I stopped myself and I thought, that's interesting because I do have three daughters and there are these three sirens represented in my pictures and they all have their own distinct personalities. One of them is much more kind of jovial than the other. One is a bit moody. And so maybe there's something going on there. Maybe they're my daughters. Who knows?
See, I only go to the beach at Noosa and they just have one siren. That's the shark alert siren.
Well, there are plenty of sharks near our local beach, although I've never seen one. I swim there every day and yet to see a shark. So we don't have a shark siren, but we do have the three sirens that are in my pictures.
Well, so Chris, tell us give us the details of your
right. So the exhibition runs from 2nd of December 2024 through to end of February 2025. So it's a 3-month show. It's at the Bathers Pavilion Gallery, Mossman in Sydney. That's on the Lower North Shore in Sydney. And it's open whenever the restaurant is open. So it's very long opening hours. You just dive on in there completely free, pop upstairs to where the gallery is, and the images will be there. I love to hear what people think of them. Some of my pictures people can't see. They just think they don't see anything in them. And then you see people, their heads, they go, wait a minute, what? And then you'll notice an elbow or perhaps a foot or a face hidden in there. I love it when people get a bit confused by my images.
Yes, well, that's great, Chris. Well, listen, thank you for that. Is a little bit of not an advertisement as such, but or advertorial. But yeah, no, really interesting to hear because when we have done another one of these conversations about photography and storytelling, and
yes,
I think what you've actually done is actually given a real life example of how you use photography and storytelling in the storytelling. Yes. And I do. I do remember the thing you said in the previous conversation about photography and storytelling is that you don't want to have to, that image, it's got to speak for itself. So you don't have to be by side people going, oh, that's,
I need to explain it to you.
Yeah, explain it to them. Although there is a thing that, I found in selling art over the years that if people know you and can talk about, the painting with you, they have a much stronger connection.
They need a story to tell, be it how it's created or who the artist is or their personal connection with that particular image.
So, okay, well, that's great. Well, we'll put those details in the show notes. And, Chris, thanks for sharing that and good luck with the exhibition.
Thanks for asking me. I've enjoyed talking about it.